So, okay, I think we're recording, but I can't be sure. Did it ask you?
Yes, it's recording.
Okay. Okay, so I don't know how to do that. Uh, so yes, Nellie, if you remind me at the end, I will post that. Where do you want me to post it online? On Canvas.
How about under J, where our daily discussion questions are, or in the test module?
I'll put it in the text module because that way more people will stumble on it.
Okay,
Okay, okay. But
thank
yes,
you.
I will put that little slide up there. Okay, questions, answers. How can I help you? Now, remember, my goal is to make the test easier to grade. Yeah. I don't care if y'all fail or not, but it's easier to grade tests when everything's right than when they're wrong. So I just want them to be easy to grade. So how can I help you make it easier to grade?
Can we go over one of the statistics questions on the practice exams? One of the ones that says like evaluate the sample results with the multi-parts.
Okay, maybe.
Okay.
Uh,
I think that's on the May 2nd, 2019 exam.
There's a few.
Yeah.
okay, so I'm lost and confused here.
If it's the May 2nd, 2019 exam, it's number 5.
Right, but you're giving me more credit than I deserve. I first had to figure out I needed to open Canvas. You know, this old age isn't. I know it looks exciting, but you know, it's not all up. Okay, so here I am. So which test is it?
Either
spring
either the spring
2019.
or either the spring or the fall have that kind of question.
Yeah, do the spring 2019.
Okay. Okay, so that question's just I can cut and paste the multiple choice, right? So which question were you asking about?
We could do like 4 or 5.
Maybe
Okay.
going through both of them.
Yeah.
Calculate the required
Both of them.
sample size. Okay, so do you all have scratch paper and pencils? Okay.
Yes.
The average book value is $4.75. Book value of $14.25, 3,000. You want to limit the risk of incorrect rejection, alpha risk to 0.05 and beta risk to 0.05. So I look up at the table and I get 1.96 and 1.645. The two tables are the same. Okay. So I'm going to look over at the other test to make sure that they're the same. Okay. I just have to use one side of the table or the other. They're just two different ways of presenting the same information. You're to test the hypothesis, the actual expense is less than 1,500, and the standard deviation is 125. Okay, what's my tolerable misstatement? Okay, now this is understatement rather than overstatement. But the book value is 1425. And you're trying to prove that the actual value is less than 150. So what's the difference? 75,000? Okay, who asked me to do this? Was that you, Hannah?
Yes,
Okay, do you agree the 75,000?
that would be the
Tyler Boyer,
2.5 minus the 1500 15
Yeah.
million. Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, 75,000.
Okay, now the formula, and somebody's gonna have to check me here because I'm doing this by, is Z alpha over 2 plus Z beta times the standard deviation, the square root of standard error of the mean, divided by Tyler Boyer. Is that the right formula? Okay.
Yeah, I believe so.
Now, the biggest mistake people make, and so my standard deviation is 125. The biggest mistake people make is the tolerable error of $75,000. We have to take the average. So I divide 75,000 by 3,000 and I get 25. Okay. So what I'm looking at here is I'm looking at 1.96 plus 1.645 bracketed times the 125 standard deviation all over 25. And that equals the square root of n.
Is the 1.645 over 2
Nope,
bracketed? No?
no, where'd you get 1.645 over 2?
Is it 1.96 over 2?
No,
Because it's Z alpha over 2
over 2.
plus beta.
Bingo, okay. No. So what's alpha risk?
Oh,
The risk of incorrect rejection.
Okay, but what number is it?
Oh,
it's the lower limit,
It's 0.05, it's
Oh.
0.05, right?
0.05, 192.
Now, the reason it's alpha over 2 is it's two-tail. Okay. Let's go to the far right column. Okay. So over on the right-hand side, I see 1.645 for beta. Everybody gets that. Okay. Now, alpha risk, we don't divide anything by 2, but I'm going to put 2.5% in each tail. Because it's a two-tail test, I put 2.5% in each tail, and that gives me 5%. So if I look on the far right, you see if I go 1.96 all the way over, it's 0.25. Okay. So Julia, does that, it's okay to say I am struggling with that. Okay. But you don't divide anything by 2. The 2
Okay,
divide by 2 says put half the risk in one tail and half the risk in the other tail. Okay, you got 5% alpha risk, but you got 2.5% in the lower tail and 2.5% in the upper tail. We don't divide anything by 2. We just go to the table and say, oh, I really only need 0.025 in each tail. That's where I get the 196. I want everybody to look up, and I want to see if I can see real smiles or not. Yeah, okay. So Matthew, if that's the best you can do for a smile, I'd hate to see your driver's license, that picture.
I think I'm still a little confused about the right side of the table.
Okay,
I understand that it's double for alpha of what beta
okay,
is.
then go to the left table.
Right.
And that alpha over, that alpha in the left table should be alpha over 2. Right. So does that help
So
you
it should be,
if the table's labeled properly? If it was labeled alpha over 2 up in the top,
Oh, that's what,
this
okay,
should be labeled alpha over 2.
okay.
And so alpha over 2 for 5% is 1.96. Because if I go over here, I can check myself and say, oh, because I'm putting 2.5% in each tail. So total is going to be 5%.
can you explain where the 1.96 comes from just one more time?
Okay, I'm looking right here. Whoa, I'm not looking all there. I'm looking right there.
And that's calculated from,
The Z table. Remember your normal distribution in 251?
I don't think so.
Okay, that's right off the, I went out and bought an old stat book and looked that up. Okay,
So that's just directly from the Z table.
that's right directly from the table. So it's a great big table. It's a full page table. I just took a few numbers out of it.
So 1.96 isn't calculated. It's
No,
just,
you don't calculate that.
okay. Thank you.
But what you definitely don't do is you don't divide by 2. Okay. So that'll be one mistake on this. Okay. The second mistake will be when people take tolerable error, they fail to divide it by the 3,000. Okay.
So can you repeat how we figure out the sample size? You said it would be in brackets 1.96 plus 1.645 times the standard deviation of 125
Yes,
divided by the average tolerable
Tolerable
misstatement,
error.
which is tolerable error, which is 25.
right.
So I get 18 point something.
Okay. But you're almost there.
Okay,
Square it,
What you have to do,
square it.
square it.
square it.
Thank you.
Now, I'm gonna do this. I shouldn't, because if it's wrong, I can just blame Nellie. But I'm gonna try and do this on my. So I get 18.03. And I square that, so I'm gonna multiply it by 1803. And I get 32,500. That's wrong. 1803 times 1803, 325.08. And I always go up. So my sample size would be 326. Always go up. And I can promise you, on the test, I always have it being less than 0.5, and then a bunch of the students will round down. You always go up. Okay. Oh, man. I wish I would have known this. So, okay, any questions on 4? And that's a very high probability type of question. And you will have to use the table. Now, there are 1,000 transactions in revenue with a book value of, and I can't see it because my students are in the way, of 475. So the average is 475, right? That's easy enough. You're testing the hypothesis that the actual value is greater than 450. So somebody, what's my tolerable error?
25,000.
25,000, but I have to divide by what?
1,000.
Okay, so my average tolerable error is you take a sample of 225. Man, I think I'm going to have everything I need here. The sample mean was 465 with a standard deviation of 150. What's your best estimate of the actual value? Now, I love this because half the class misses it, and it's the easiest question on the test.
Just the 465,
Times what?
1,000.
1,000. So our best estimate of the actual value is 465,000.
Do I get a point for that?
Oh, Lord. Okay, but now, 2 things. Do you see where he got the 465,000? And do you see how frustrating it is for a teacher at the college level when students miss something that's that easy? At least hopefully after you see the answer, you realize it's easy. Okay, calculate the critical value if beta risk is 10%. So I go back to this table, beta 10%, 1.28. Okay, Matthew, do you see where I got the 1.28?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. So now as we're doing this, think of how many different problems I could turn this into a multiple choice. Okay. Calculate the critical value. Well, the critical value is going to be 450 plus 1.28 standard deviations times, where's my standard deviation? 150 over the sample size, square root of the sample size. So if you're working along with me, I've got 450 plus 1.28 times 150 over the square root of 225. Does anybody know what the square root of 225 is? It's 15. So I got 450 plus 128 times 150 divided by 15, which is 10. So I've got 450 plus 1280. I've got a critical value of 462.80. Questions, answers, thoughts?
Can you repeat that? I got lost.
Okay, so my formula, my critical value is 450, what I'm trying to prove, plus 1.28 standard deviations. And the standard deviation is 150 divided by the square root of 225. Okay. And now it's just math.
Did you get the 1.28?
From the table.
The table, okay.
Now, remember two things. So I will have the table on every problem that needs a table. If there's no table, you don't need the table. Okay. I will also have the problem on table on a couple problems where you don't need the table. Okay. Any other questions?
What did you get for that?
What'd you get?
I got 4512.8. I don't think I'm right.
Okay.
So 450 plus
Plus?
1.28.
No, 1.28 times 10,
1.28 times 10.
right? Because the standard deviation is 150. And the square root of 225 is 15. So 150 divided by 15 is 10.
Oh,
Okay. Now, I'm going to be snarky, and Patty says I shouldn't be. But one of the things that you guys are disadvantaged about is I grew up without a calculator. They didn't have them, right? So you actually thought through problems rather than just punching numbers in. I mean, Elon Musk could not have afforded this calculator because it wasn't being made. So you guys get so calculator dependent, you don't think. Okay, so is everybody kind of happy with the $462.80? Then I look back and my average for the sample's what? 465. Okay, that's closer to the mean. That's on that's on the book value side. So I'm happy. At 10% level, I'm happy.
I have to ask another question about that.
Okay.
You said it was 462.8,
Yes.
right? So how did you get the 0.8? 1.28 times 10 plus 450?
No. Yes. Yeah. What's 1.28 times 10?
Well, 12.8.
$12.80.
Yeah.
So I just add that on 450.
And I times that by 150.
No,
Okay.
you've already got the 150. The 150 is in the 10.
Okay.
Now, in the statistics handout, the reading, the formula is right there on the very front. And it says, you know, memorize this the night before the test. Right. But there's the formula right there. So I don't expect if I run into you at farmer's market in August, I don't expect you to remember that formula. But it's, you know, it will help before the test. Cool. Now, the next thing that always happens is the same thing, but at a different level, risk level. Critical value at 0.05. So instead of using 1.28, I'm going to use 1.645. Where did he get the 1.645, Matthew?
From the table.
From the table. So now what I do is I take 450 plus 1.645 times 150 over the square root of 25. And I already know that 150 divided by the square root of 25 is 10, because I just worked that. So it's 450 plus $16.45. 466.45. Uh-oh. Devlin's either just woke up or
No, I was looking at the wrong line item. I didn't have the same number and I was just like confused for a second, but I scrolled down. I have the same number. That's fine.
okay. Okay. And then I look at my sample mean of 465, and it's on the wrong side. It's to the left of 466. So I need more evidence. So just think of how I could take this problem and break it up into how many multiple choice problems. I could have you calculate the critical value. I could have you tell me whether you're going to accept it at 10%, 5%, 20%. Right. So it's not hard to take this problem and turn it into 2 or 3 multiple choice questions.
Just to be clear, so the response to E would be no, correct? No, wait, no.
Correct.
I am wrong. Yeah,
Correct.
yeah. Okay.
Correct. We would need more evidence.
Can you explain E and C a little bit more, like what the difference is between at 10% and at 5% and how we would figure that out?
So you're talking about this 10% and this 5%?
C and E.
Okay. Okay, yeah. So I just go up to the table. I'm looking for beta risk.
Mhm.
Okay. So I just look for 5%, 1.645, 10%, 1.28. I just take them right off the table.
Mhm. And then compare them to what number? The
Well, I'm only going to use one at a time, right? And down here. So when I'm solving this part, I'm only going to use the 1.28. Okay. Then
Mhm.
stop and pretend it's an entirely new problem.
Oh, okay, I see.
And now I'm going to use the 1.645.
Okay.
Okay. Now there's something that I can clarify, I think. Okay. You only use alpha and beta when you calculate the sample size. Okay. We only play around with alpha and beta when we're evaluating the results. All we're worried about is beta. So you're allowed to get confused on calculating the sample size, but once we get down here to evaluating the critical value and the results, all we're worried about is beta.
Okay.
Okay.
I have a question about the table.
Okay.
So you said 1.28 is a 10% level of risk.
For beta risk, yes.
Okay. Actually, never mind.
No. Keep going. Keep going. I got to make fun of somebody beside Devlin.
No, I just realized where it comes from just now.
Okay. Okay, good.
And we're looking at beta risk for this whole question. Okay, that makes sense.
Okay. Okay, other questions? Because remember, there's 50 other questions on the test. So the last time I taught this in person, so students all complain about the statistics. And now, I think I pretty much fixed this. Last quarter, the grades on the second test were almost the same as the grades on the other three tests. Traditionally, the grades on the second test are lower. And everybody blames it on statistics. But statistics, when I analyze the results, is not the problem. The students so overthink the statistics that they don't study the rest of the material. Right. So don't let the stat freak you out, period. But remember, there's 50 other problems on the test. And let's just use logic. How does Tad think? So there's going to be 5 to 10 short answer. Those are almost going to be definition. Okay. They could be something like this. Okay. But he usually does definitions for most of those 5 to 10 are definitions. Then of the next 50, what are there going to be? Well, there's going to be a bunch of questions on independence. A whole bunch on financial independence that have involved 2 people and 3 questions. Okay. So the first question is almost always, is Joe a covered member? Yes or no? If he's not a covered member, I don't have to worry. The second question is the other party in this question. Are they a close relative or immediate family? If they're immediate family, the rules are the same for them as they are for covered member. And then the third question is the amount of material. If it's a close relative, I have to know whether the amount's material or not. Okay. So, and like I showed you on you guys better be hoping the Warriors are winning. You better. I mean, yeah. I'm not supposed to let that influence my grading, but this is my last quarter teaching, so I don't have to play by the rules anymore. Right? Okay.
You're above the law.
They're up 3 at end of quarter 1 right now.
Oh, Stella, you're my new favorite student.
They're actually only up 2.
Okay, so
I lied, but up 2.
well, I love it when women lie to me. Where am I? Okay, so this old, so here, you know, there'll be a bunch of definitional questions. Okay, here are the questions. So as soon as you see this line, no group of professional employees or their immediate family own 5%. Then you can notice you're talking about a covered member problem. Right. So if you don't see that line, you may have to think. But if you see that line there, it's a covered member problem. So the first question is Joe a covered member? Yes or no? If no, I don't have any independence issue. Okay. If Joe is a covered member, then I need to know what makes Joe a covered member. If Joe is a covered member, then I have to say who's the second party, because they all have a second party. And is the second party, so in this Oh, tax. Oh, Lord, how did I pick that? George is an audit partner. What would make George a covered member?
He works in the office.
If he's in the engagement office. So if George is not in the engagement office, we don't have an independence issue. Okay. George's wife, okay, is George's wife immediate family or close relative?
Immediate family.
So if George is in the engagement office, that would make him a covered member. His wife is immediate family. So if she owns any stock at all, it will impair independence. What if it was his sister? What was his sister be?
Isn't it only if she's dependent?
So his sister would be a close relative
Close relative.
unless it says otherwise. And she can own stock unless the amount's material. So all these problems are set up that same way. Right? So there's George, there's a second party, and I've got to ask myself, oh gosh, is George a covered member? If not, I don't have to worry. If George is a covered member, then I have to say the second party, are they immediate family or close relative? If they're immediate family, any financial interest will impair independence. If they're close relative, it will only impair independence if the amount's material.
Can you
So-
go over number 21 after this one? Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Okay, but I don't want to go through them all because they're all the same. Right? Sue is a staff auditor. What would make Sue a covered member?
She worked there
Work where?
in the office. San
Nope.
Luis Obispo office.
Nope. What does Sue have to? So it's absolutely imperative that you know inside and out who are covered members. Sue's only going to be a covered member if she's assigned to the engagement. Okay. Her brother, who is not dependent, if it doesn't say anything, we should assume he's not dependent. It will say he's dependent if he is. So her brother is a close relative. So her brother can own stock as long as the amount's material. So I don't know which one's which. If Sue is assigned to the engagement and the amount is material to her brother. Okay. Now I've tried very hard, which doesn't mean I got it right, on these type of questions to say only if. Right. So if the investment's material is, so if I were to write this problem tonight, it would say independence is impaired without any different. No, that's not it. If Sue is assigned to the engagement, no, that's not necessarily. If the investment's material to her brother, it's only partial. Only if Sue is assigned to the engagement and the amounts are material to her brother. So I've tried to use the only if more to make it less confusing.
Sounds good. And can you also go over number 12?
Maybe, maybe not.
And I have a question after that.
Okay. Oh, no.
I mean, this could just be my slow tax brain, but I
Well,
assumed
yeah, but
that they
you
were
can
all-
look this up, right?
I tried. I couldn't figure it out. I thought they all were.
No. In the book, there's 6 principles. Due care, responsibility, scope and nature of services, the public interest,
Independence.
integrity, objectivity, and independence. So independence is not by itself.
Okay, that's why I was
Okay.
confused.
Okay. So
Gotcha.
yeah, you should know those 6. I wouldn't necessarily memorize them, but I'd be familiar enough that I could pick out. Right. I mean, to me, maybe it's just me. It just sticks out like a sore thumb that independence is not a principle. It's objectivity in independence. That's why we want to be independent, so we're objective. Like our Supreme Court justices, they're all objective. Oh, Tad, that's not nice. That's not nice, don't it? Okay, Nellie.
Yes, are we gonna have questions like we did last test about, or is this a dumb question? About audit reports, what audit report
Yes.
we would issue?
Yes, you will
Okay.
have, okay, so on all remaining tests, you will have the definitions, you will have the assertions, you will have audit reports, and now the audit risk model. You'll go into audit risk model much more detail in the next section. But you're going to have audit reports on every test. And you're going to have assertions on every test. Now, because of the nature of this material, so I've got a section on sampling. I got a big section on independence. I'll have a section on legal liability. So I don't have as much room for as many questions as I would like on assertions and reporting, but they will be on there. Questions, answers. Stella's watching the game. Questions, answers.
Number 58. It's an overstatement, understatement problem.
Wow. Okay, we're auditing accounts receivable with a $3,000 balance. We want evidence that the account, that if the account is overstated, it's overstated by less than $75. So this is overstatement. So our benchmark number is going to be 2925. Right. If the true value is 2925, the book value is overstated. And I want evidence to show that the actual balance is greater than 2925. Now, keep in mind, it's always better to be closer to the book value. So if I look at the next problem, which is an understatement, I'm going to add the 3075. I'm going to say, well, if the true value is 3075, then the book value is understated. But I want the answer to be closer to the book value. So I'm going to say we would try to get evidence that proves that the actual balance is less than 3075. Okay. The answer is always closer to the book value. Questions, answers. Okay, so I think, with the exception of sampling, I think this question is, or this test is probably a pretty good review. So you're going to have some management assertions. Like I said, not as many as I'd like. You got some reporting, not as many as I'd like. You have a whole bunch on independence. Most of them are going to look like those questions Devlin asked. You're going to have a few questions on legal liability. Okay. So make sure you know what a primary beneficiary, foreseen party, foreseeable parties are. Make sure that you separate tort law, common law from securities law. Okay. So if it's securities law, we don't have, primary beneficiary, foreseen party, they don't have anything to do with securities law. So if it's a 1933 securities question, and there's a answer that has primary beneficiary in it, that's just smoke. Okay. And then there'll be a little bit about the audit risk model. Okay. Questions, answers? Okay, if there's no questions, I'm going to post those slides and I'll post them with test number 2.
Thank you.
I don't know how I'll label them, but I might call them Nelly slides. Okay, any other questions? Okay. Well, I wish you all luck. I hope this helped a little bit. And, I hope it shows, but, this is an enjoyable class this year, right? So it's not difficult for me to get up at 9 o'clock and come all the way across the room to class. But anyway, yeah, I mean, it's, like I said at the beginning, I hope you all find something that you enjoy. As less painful as this is. Okay, I'm out of here. Unless you ask
Thank
a
you.
question.
Thank you.
Thank
You're
you so
welcome.
much.
Thanks, Ted.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, now I got to figure out how to stop recording.